I'm Effie and this is What Effie Reads. Today I'm going to be doing the TBR tag. This is a tag that's been around for a while. I'm not sure who originated it, so I will try and have a look and pop it in the description down below. But I just thought it'd be a lot of fun to do since I'm always talking about books that I love or I'm excited to read, so I thought it'd be fun to talk about books that I'm not reading. The first question is, what popular book do you have no interest in reading? And for me, it is My Dark Vanessa. It's because I've been through it. Like, I wasn't a teacher, but like when I was 12, a guy that was 10 and a half years older than me started talking to me, like befriending me, and I just, I've lived it, like obviously not the same circumstances, but I don't need to read about it. I've heard it's a fantastic book, but it's just not one that I have any desire to read. And the second question is, a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. See, this is a really tricky one because classics don't really appeal to me. Like I have a few classics and I probably would read them, but I wouldn't go out of my way to read them. I think the most significant one is probably Charles Dickens. Like, I think as far as classics go, it's all Never Say Never. But I've heard that Charles Dickens is quite difficult to get through. So it's not like, of all the classical authors, Dickens is probably the one that I've got least interest in. The third question is, name an author that you have no interest in. I mean, there's a lot of authors I have no interest in, but as far as authors that, as far as I'm aware, aren't particularly problematic, well, I say aren't particularly problematic, aren't extremely problematic, and like obviously I would have no interest in, I'm probably going to say Stephen King. It's again like another author. It's another one of these authors that I never say never, but I just don't find that I'm interested in picking up any King work. But at the same time, I did love Pet Semetary. So, but I also remember it being like very sexual for horror. I don't know, it's been years since I actually read it. Next question, name a problematic author. How long have you got? I am going to go with John Boyne and leave it at that. An author you've read before and decided they're not for you. 100% Shari Lapena. I have tried 3 of her books and I disliked all 3 of them. Just not an author that I get along with. A genre you can't get into or just isn't for you. I mean, theme of this video, never say never, but for me it's romance. Like, I've got no problem with fantasy romance or books that have got a bit more going on for them, but straight up romance is not a genre that I particularly enjoy. I think a lot of it is because there's a very clear progression. It's like characters meet, pretty clear they're going to get together, then they hit some kind of speed bump, often involves not speaking to each other. Why can't people speak to each other? And then they get back together and everyone lives happily ever after. I'm kind of like, I mean, partially because it is such a genre, but maybe there's an author out there that I enjoy the romance of. I mean, I say that, and I've just realised that I really enjoyed The Switch, so maybe it's just that I need to figure out what I do and don't like, but romance isn't really my genre. A book you've bought and will never read. I mean, I tend to only buy books if I intend on reading them, with the exception of my aesthetic books. So I'm just going to have a look and see if any of them are ones that I probably won't read. So just bear with me. Okay, so I can't actually remember if this is a book that I bought or if it's one that I've hauled. It looks to have an Oxfam labelling, so it is possibly one that I've bought, but it is War and Peace, or like very specifically this edition, because when I decided that I wanted to read War and Peace, it's one of those books that for whatever reason I want to read in my lifetime. When I decided that it was something that I wanted to read, I did some research and looked up the preferred translation, and from what I read, the Maud translation is the preferred one. So I actually have quite a nice edition of War and Peace that is the Maud translation, whereas this one is not a translation I see often. It's the Princess Alexandra Kropotkin translation. So yeah, it's just a case of I'm not going to read this specific one because I've got what I've been told is a better translation of it. But it's pretty, like, don't get me wrong, and it has those sweet deckled edges. Okay, so the next question, where have I got up to? The next question, a series you have no interest in reading or have decided to DNF. Have I though? Have I DNF'd anything? This is a real head scratcher. I think I'm probably going to be really non-specific and say that I know that there's a lot of crime series, like detective whatever, book 1 to however many out there, and that's just not for me. I don't particularly enjoy crime novels from like a detective perspective, so it's basically, if the series is detective whatever or DI whatever or DCI whatever, I don't want to read it. And the final question is a new release you have no interest in reading. I don't know what new releases there are at the moment. I'm going to slightly cheat on this one because I'm struggling to think what new releases there are. And I'm going to say that Illumicrate recently announced that they were doing special editions of the Brown Sisters trilogy. So it's kind of a new release. It's a new release of these editions. And I'm just not interested in reading them. I've read Chloe Brown. In fact, this possibly would count as series I'm probably not going to continue. Yeah, I've read Chloe Brown. It was okay. It wasn't really for me, but then romance isn't really for me. So it's not really a series that I'm interested in. As with everything, never say never, but it's not like I've not bought the special editions because I not interested in reading them, and like for a series I'm not interested in, it's too much to spend. But yeah, and that was the Anti-TBR Tag. So now you know a little bit more about what I won't read, I suppose. I'd love to know your answers to some of these, and let me know if you've actually done this tag, and I'll go and give your video some love. And until next time, bye!